on Restream. I have Kenneth Clifford and Ana Paola here, and they have just been traveling around Europe and in England, but they had quite a bit of time in Spain before that, and then they just arrived back in Spain with some invitations in some other places, Paris and Holland and Germany. So welcome. So great that you could be with me.
Thank you, David. It's so sweet to be here with you.
So good to see you.
So beautiful. Well, you're like mystics on the move. You've just jumped right in with Jesus on the road, and it's been, what did we say? Was it 8 months or 10?
10 months today.
10 months. You've been on the road, just following your inner prompts, literally moment by moment, day by day. You have a gathering set or supposed to say with somebody, you get an inner prompt, no, they have COVID, go here, go there. Somebody else shows up, another garden shows up. So yeah, maybe you can just share a little bit about how the journey's going for you. For both of you can just share with everybody how things have been.
Yeah, it's just been incredible, really, from start to finish. You know, I remember when we had our first meeting, David, about, hey, maybe it's felt to go to Spain, and then literally everything just fell in from that place, really. And so it's completely obvious, whereby we got 20 invites, and then we didn't have any money or anything, so we put out, and then all the money came, and then it was like obvious that the trip was meant to happen. It was for Jesus. So off we basically go on this journey, and so we're just meeting people we've never ever met them before in our lives. And as you said, we've really got to listen and follow very, very deeply. And it's like the basics of A Course in Miracles are absolutely everything. You've really got to feel into absolutely everything, every step of the way. And in that has really been for our joy, and also for our dismantling. Like, for example, with me, when I came, I said to Jesus, do you think I should learn a little bit of Spanish? And he said, no. He said, you've got too much control as it is. He said, so when you can't understand the language, you just leave it to me. So I was like, perfect. You need to take your hands off the wheel. And I was like, great. And from that, really, it's taught me like more intuition, yeah? So because I couldn't understand the conversations, I'd be feeling something, and then I'd be saying, Anna, what's being said? And then she would tell me, and then there would be some input or whatever. Or I could just feel that everything was joyful, and I'd say, yeah, that feels good, you know, whatever was happening. So in a way, like, Jesus was sort of like expanding my mind and saying, see, you don't really need to actually understand the language to understand what was going on. And then from that, like, Anna would think that she'd communicated to me, and she hadn't. And she said, oh, I thought I'd communicated to you. So I had to be very sort of like flexible with what was happening.
We're going here now. Okay,
that's what we're doing.
It's funny because a lot of times people think in this world more is better, more languages, more experiences and everything. But it sounds like that the Spirit was using that to help deepen your telepathy, deepen your intuitive connection with each other,
Exactly.
because that's a very different use of just using language to convey something, where it was more of a backdrop and the real lesson was how connected are you at the thought level. So that is a deeper step that most people would hear about.
I mean, that's what happened in the gatherings eventually. So what would happen is because it would be too much for Anna to speak and then translate it all for me, she would just have to talk. So I would sit there with my eyes closed, and by the end of it, she would say, would you like me to tell you what you said? I said, it's no problem. I'm just going to go. Yeah. And I just start sharing. And afterwards, she'd say, are you understanding Spanish a bit more? And I said, no, I didn't understand the word you said. I said, I understood something. I said, but I didn't really understand. She said, well, what I shared, you ended up sharing all examples about everything that I shared. I said, I had no idea. All I had is all these thoughts and parables come to mind. And I just thought, okay, that's what I'm to share. without even knowing what's being talked about.
It was like many times there was this beautiful experience of the one mind. But it's been like such an incredible trip. Really, I'm so grateful. It has been like so strengthening for me. I feel like this inner like strength and like this inner trust just keeps growing, and almost like this anchor inside of me, just like something stable and settled inside, and something that I never felt it was possible. And like I feel like also like dynamics between Ken and I, which we would always be like, Ken is the one like usually like strong and all of that, and I will be the one that was going through all this healing and like crying and everything. This trip, it just feels like Jesus was like, okay, we're gonna try something different now. And Ken was going through all his emotions, all his unraveling, deep emotions. And suddenly I was just in this strength and this stability in my mind. And it was like, wow, this is like something completely new, like not old at all. And for me, that's been like incredible. It's just like no words to describe it. Like, if we start sharing with you like all the miracles and all the experience we've had, like we wouldn't finish, in 30 minutes. There's no way, like endless miracles, like cascading miracles, really.
Yeah.
We met the most beautiful people too. Like here in Spain, we were here for many months, and we were meeting with people we've never actually known in form, you could say. But immediately it was like that recognition, and it felt almost like, I always had the sensation that actually time was going backwards instead of forwards. That was really interesting. When I would meet someone and I would feel such a strong connection, it almost felt like what we were gonna live had already happened, and that's why the connection was so strong since the first point. Almost like here's where we left off or something like that. And with that, with so many, it's been like, wow, incredible. Here in Spain, in England, the same thing happened. But it's been like a whole, restructuring of the mind. That's how it feels. Like a whole rearrangement.
It's beautiful. It's like, of course, Jesus teaches miracles our prayer is the medium of miracles. And I remember even some years ago when we were doing those Living Miracles broadcasts, and you both had your TV show, and sometimes you would pray and pray all day. Basically, you would pray all day, and then they'd turn the camera on, and you would both be sitting side by side with a chair and maybe a flower or something. And then it was very deep. Everybody felt it. That's what people would say to me, like, wow, it feels like they've been praying all day long before this gathering. And then I think that has served you so well, because in Spain, it was a bit different than when you went to England. In Spain, there was just, you were flooded with invitations. You were on the move, going around. And it seemed like that was like you were saying, Anna, a time for you to step in and open up and come in more stronger. And then with all that Kenneth went through back in England, that's the way it usually goes. Jesus, whenever you really need to go through some deep healing, is just like go back to wherever there was some past associations or whatever, and then it like explodes. It comes up like a volcano. But I do, when I think of when you landed the first time there in Spain, because you've just literally landed again
2 minutes ago.
Like, a couple hours ago.
So it's really fresh. But I remember that little garden section in the course where he talks about miracles fall like healing rain on a dry and thirsty desert, and signs of life spring up everywhere. That it's kind of beautiful that as you went to Spain the first time on just faith and guidance, that it was like the signs of life spring up. I mean, people were coming out of the woodwork. You were getting invitations for gatherings, retreats, one-on-ones, come to my living room, come visit me in my house. Oh, let me call some people over. It's very much like a lot of the pioneers of A Course in Miracles, going way back to the Varleys and Oman and Shanti, where they just were out there winging it. And I think you said that, yeah, because of this was coming on in the pandemic, you know, people were forced to be inside, pulled away from their course groups, facing intense emotions. And so it was like there were the beautiful miracles falling like drops of healing rain on a dry and thirsty desert. And really, signs of life sprung up everywhere you went. It was like the green was shooting up. The seeds were there, but they were under the ground. And you just brought the warmth and the love of Jesus and said, yeah, we don't have a format here. We're just going to show up, and you tell us what you need. Tell us what you want. And then you've been also being able to pull in some of the movies and incorporate that into the retreat. That's a really cool thing too. So just what was that experience like? And already you said you're so busy, you've just landed in 2 hours, and now you're getting flooded with more invitations than you can handle. You have to actually start to turn some down. That's a beautiful experience, a beautiful witness.
I just feel like right now, like so touched, like, you know, like tears are in my eyes, and it's just like, wow, I just have no idea. I remember the day we were about to start, the first time we were gonna go out, we were staying with our friends Amanda and Micah for a month, and it was soon before we were about to launch on our first trip. And I remember I did this prayer, like, Jesus, you need to show me that I'm meant to be here. Like, I felt so like afraid, and you know, like all my emotions went everywhere, and I just really need you to tell me that I'm meant to be here. And I was talking with Amanda's mom, and she, I don't know, in that moment she had this pendulum thing, which I had never done before. But she said, if there's one question you want to ask, you are welcome to ask it. And I said, okay then. And I just asked, that question had been in my mind, like, Jesus, am I meant to be here in Spain? And suddenly the thing just swung into this yes. And she's like, well, I'm not going to ask you what you asked, but that is a really clear yes. And you know, like now, like looking back, it's just like, wow, I had no idea. It's like really like my heart is overflowing with gratitude. It's just incredible, incredible. You know what we read it, like you were mentioning the Barleys, like I read that book many times, and every time I need like coming back to my inspiration with my forgiveness practice, I read it. And then it's like God is like we've been like living it in a way, you know, in form, and like all the forgiveness opportunities just keep washing over. And the miracles.
Yeah, it's been so beautiful, the people that we meet. The ones that have really, really touched me the most is the ones that don't do the Course in Miracles. And then they just start lighting up in front of me, and I'm just like, oh my God, Jesus, you're just amazing. And these people are like, I don't know what's happening to me. And then they're getting like super happy. And that's what I love. And then even like people can be very, very timid, you know. They don't know the Course in Miracles, but then all of a sudden they start sharing their miracle stories. And we just start getting lit up by this. And it's like, then this happened to me, then that happened to me. And it's like, yeah, everyone we're supposed to meet is like, oh, go and meet this brother. Are we supposed to go in? Then we go here. Then we meet these friends. Then we meet this one. And then, do you want to come to this house? Yeah, let's go to this house then. And we just don't even know why we're turning up. We just sit there, and I'm just sitting there saying, okay, I'm here to be truly helpful, whatever's needed. And then that's when the healing takes place for people. Like, oh my God, my mum hasn't shared her love with me like that ever before. And all these things are happening around us. This guy was really beautiful, actually. He wasn't into the Course, but we were in the house with his friend that was into the Course. And at the end of our stay there, I said, hey, I just want to say how grateful I am. Like, we all had dinner together. And I just said, I just want to say how grateful I am to you for having us. And I know that you weren't into any of this, and like you just like really welcomed us in. So I'm just like extremely grateful. And we all went round, and then everybody went round and shared their gratefulness. And he said, I don't know what's gone on since you've come here, but he said, all I can describe it as, he said, you have brought fresh air to this house. It feels like all of the windows have been opened up, all of the doors have been opened up, and there's just this stream of fresh air coming through. And he said, and I don't know what's got into me. He said, but I've got so much energy inside of me, and I'm feeling so happy. And we were just like, oh, thank you so much.
End,
yeah.
And the end, he said, but the most important thing is that you put me in touch again with that spark of the love that I had for God that I lost many, many years ago. And I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
So that was just like full of those were like crying.
Yeah, it makes you cry. You know, when you're talking to, you're reminding me that's what I discovered when I was going around. I was actually meeting, I think, more people that were not in the course than that were in the course, because of course the United States is a big country. So when you travel, which I was usually traveling by car in the early days, you meet people at gas stations, rest areas, at parks, at picnic areas. You meet people that say, oh, what do you do? Well, what? Hey, you want to come home or you want to have lunch? And there was more of those kind of encounters, and they were so heartfelt with people that I didn't even ever meet them, and they weren't even into the course. A lot of them didn't even, it never came up. You know, we were just there for joy. It just never came up. So when you're talking, that's just reminding me how this is so different. I think sometimes people think they have an idea of what a traveling Course in Miracles teacher is, you know, just going from hotel to city to city to group. And this is an actual living experience. Every single moment of every day, you're in prayer. You don't have a little switch. You don't turn it on and off like, okay, I arrive and I put my bags in the hotel and I get a good rest. And then I have a day or two to turn the switch on and then turn the switch off. This isn't the same. This is actually moment by moment, inspired living. This is like living A Course in Miracles, living the teachings of Jesus, having a direct contact with Jesus so that you pray and you're told where to go. Maybe you could share, that happened to you right before you came here. You were telling me that in England, you were supposed to go to a house for a gathering, and then it was like over an hour drive, an hour and a half. And then right before you were leaving, you were told that somebody in the house, the husband had COVID. And then everything just shifted in that moment, like on a dime, everything just shifted.
Yeah, so basically 15 minutes before we were about to drive for an hour and 10 minutes to the place, I get a message from the host saying, spanner in the works, my husband's got COVID. And we were doing the gathering in the house. She's like, do we still go ahead? Okay, so we sit there and pray. I said, well, I feel like we're still supposed to go ahead. She says, I've tested negative, so do we all feel good? She said, I'm going to try and move everything. So she's in the midst of speaking to everybody, moving everything. Within the 15 minutes, it was all handled. A friend said, you can do it in my garden. She ran out there, got all that set up there. And then her other friend said, they could come and stay with me. I've got a spare bed. So we said, well, we're just going to get in the car anyway and just see what happens.
Yeah, at this point, we jumped in the car. We actually didn't
even know. We just went, okay, no, we're going in that
direction.
We
said, no, we still feel to go. Let's go. And we're trusting that everything will work out because we do feel this gathering. We just felt good.
Yeah, exactly.
We still didn't have a place. She had said, we don't have a place yet, but we just jumped in the car. And we're like, okay, we'll just go there and see what happens. If the gathering happens, great. If not, then great.
And then, so basically, we get there. It's all absolutely perfect. You know, everybody turns up. It was literally like effortless. And then the friend was super excited about having us. So she was like, oh, I'm so glad you're staying with us. And it was like, it was perfect because it was like for her healing, that obviously something was there. And she was pretty brand new to the Course in Miracles. And after the event, she had all these grievances with another one of her friends. And the friend came round, and then she's got all of this emotion coming up. And it was just after your movie. We'd watched the movie. And then I come down the stairs just in the middle of it. They said, I'm glad you've turned up because we're arguing here. And so then she like shared all of her private thoughts, and it was absolutely beautiful. She was kind of quite resistant to some of the things I had to say in the beginning. And it was really funny, but I was really like loving working with her. And then she was just like getting it on like a more of a profound and deep level. And she was like, I get it. I get it. And like, she was just like so grateful. And it was like, oh my God, that was the reason why we were staying with her, because we needed to spend more time. And then it's like, after that, she says, if ever you come back, you can come and stay at my house. And it's like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, that was so beautiful.
So it's like, we never ever truly know who we're supposed to meet. It seemingly looks like you're going, this is what always happens. I say, we're going seemingly for this, and then we come for this. You know, Jesus has got like a huge, great plan that is beyond anything that we can comprehend.
Yeah, and it really feels like, it's almost like we just like, we're just going along, going to wherever we're meant to go, almost like we're just like observing the whole thing happening, but it just feels like we're just like there. Not much has happened. Maybe we're just talking or whatever. We're not saying anything. And then all of a sudden, all these miracles start happening in front of us, and all these things happen like in front of us, and it's just like Jesus is just showering and convincing us all the time. Like, it's been for us, definitely. This trip has been just for us, just to convince us and like to trust in such a deep way, really. We have to.
Yeah,
And
that's beautiful. It's like, that's the biggest lesson, I think, is that it's always your own lesson. It's not really about persons or other people's lessons, because here it is, you're in the middle of engaged in something, and Kenneth, you walk down and you just walk into the middle of an argument, two people arguing, and they don't have to be course students. This is just, the presence of love is there, and the presence of love knows how to come through and bring peace. Like Jesus says, whenever you believe anything is lacking in any situation, it's what you have failed to give. But I'm glad you're bringing this up, because I think a lot of times people will work with the Course in a kind of a very intellectual way, and then they have online groups, and they form these big online groups, and then they like bicker and banter and argue about interpretations of a sentence or a paragraph. And this is so different than that. This is like, you're actively saying yes to Spirit, to Jesus. Use me as a miracle worker. You really don't know, you're showing up. You don't know the specifics. You just know that you're there to be helpful. You're there to bring peace. Like St. Francis, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. That's like the prayer of the heart. And then everything is taken care of. In fact, here this week, we're just getting ready to go into an online retreat and a Saturday movie session. But the theme this week is miracles are involuntary. What you're sharing now is that's totally on theme. This is like Jesus starting the retreat on Thursday, the day before we started, because you're just witnessing how, you don't have control over what to say, what to do, where to go. Many people might say that doesn't even sound human, and it's really not. It's almost like the Spirit is channeling through the mind and using the bodies to speak and to smile and laugh and hug. Even you shared, there was a woman in Spain who just said, I have to see you, and came to talk to both of you because she'd been through, years of sexual abuse, and was almost just it had to come up, almost ready to explode, kind of like an exorcism, because it was repressed for so long. And then she just felt your loving presence. And then all that allowance and how the Spirit gently guided you to work with her. And then now she's still friends to this day. Let me know when you come around. People will never forget that moment when they were able to open up and heal from all this bottled up tension and bottled up conflict, taking it personally, holding a grievance, and then suddenly everything is clear. It's just so miraculous.
Yeah, that's it. Because as you said, really, it's always our healing, you know, and it's like they reflect that, and it's beautiful. It's always fulfilling my heart. So it's like I feel so blessed, and everything that's coming is just perfect for what I need to learn, you know. And that's like, it's like always like the opposite way around. Like they're coming for me, and it's like really for me to be letting go all of the time. And that's what I've seen on this trip for me. It's like I can't be in my old way any longer. You know, I've seen like, oh, I've got to do it. I've got to get it done. I'm responsible. And it's like, this has been the real sort of like dismantling for me. And just like then there's just been like a lot of emotion with all of that, because it was all part of these ideas about myself. And obviously really underneath it all was like all of this unworthiness that I was trying to cover up, and not having to be strong, and realizing that I was feeling scared and I was feeling frightened. And I just had this self-concept that was like, no, everything's all right. I'm going to handle everything, yeah, as I did. And seemingly it's carried me along the spiritual journey, and it's given me a lot of muster to have the next lesson to stand up again. But it's like now it's like falling away. And I can't like rely on that energy. That energy isn't even there. So then there's this falling apart happening for me. And then I just feel like, oh my God, here comes a wave of unworthiness, yeah. And I've just got to sit there. It's like 3 a.m. in the morning. This is coming washing through me. Wow, I feel really scared. Okay, this is what I'm going through. But it's been really enjoyable, right? Because before, right, I haven't been in touch with any of these emotions because I'm going to do it. I'm going to get it done, you know. And so I just didn't realize that was such a defense, that I was really, really scared and frightened. And now I just go, wow, or not knowing, there was this such idea, like I've got to know, or this protectionism as well. Like, I don't know, I've just played it out for years. I have no idea where it came from. It's like since a child, I've always felt I've got to protect everyone. And it's just like this task that cannot be met yet. And I repeat it over and over and over again. I'm just like, when am I going to learn this lesson? Yeah. And it's like, it always falls, like it always becomes challenging and then upsetting for me because it's my own strength. But this time it's like, I'm seeing it more and more, and like, I don't have the answers, right? and then like, there's like, I've been able to cry, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I feel scared, I feel frightened, and I'm with the people, yeah? And it's like, I've just got to share how I'm feeling. I'm like, I've just got to share it, right? But in sharing it,
that's so much
like,
for my,
really like, yeah,
that's
my
like
sadness.
me. During the early years when I was going around, I was just totally winging it, you know. I had so much emotions. I did like a 6-hour car ride and an 8-hour car ride, and I'm driving and I'm listening to music and I'm crying and I'm feeling like generally like a mess, and thinking there's actually, I'm supposed to speak at the next town, because you're driving like 6 hours, 8 hours thinking, well, Jesus, I'm glad you're in charge, because I feel like a mess. I'm going to trust that I'm going to be sane by the time I get to the town. And that sounds like, you know, it's just so transparent for people, because I think what happens is what you're talking about now is people are so identified with the personality and with the protectionisms and defense mechanisms, or maybe even just with skills and abilities, you know, like people maybe have never met you and they're just watching for the first time. Yeah, usually I have like 50 or 70 people. There's 3,595 people watching I got the rock stars on today. I'm like, we're up in Oprah Winfrey range or something. We're just being transparent. But the thing is, people don't know that Ken gave himself over into psychotherapy and allowed all of that to be used as a phase of opening up the heart. When you're doing psychotherapy, that's very intimate. And you really, I think you learn to pray, you learn to ask for help. And Anna, you've had such amazing like graphic artistry skills and technical skills. And I know you did like Svava's for the cover for her albums and all kinds of things. And now you're both thrown out, go off, they send you to Spain, Jesus does, and throws you just out there and says, here, deal with this and just pray. So I think maybe that's the thing that you got from all of this, is you just have really learned how to really pray in a sincere way. Help me. And that's the greatest thing. That if you had to just say one thing, if you just pray and you ask for help moment by moment as you go along or wherever you need it, instead of trying to figure it out emotionally or intellectually, you just dive in and pray, then suddenly you start to realize this miracles are involuntary, and it's like you're being carried on some kind of a carpet ride with tears, tears going down your face, but sometimes tears of joy.
Exactly. It was like we did this retreat, and I just felt like I was completely warmed up. I mean, all my emotions were just. I was all over the show. I mean, it was just like it looked like hell to me, but it was like completely crazy because everything around me was like this miracles were just taking place, and so I couldn't be be responsible.
I don't know how that retreat actually went.
No idea,
because I don't know what was going on with me, but I also felt terrible. And we were sitting in the morning praying for the gathering that's about to start. I'm like, Ken, I feel horrible. And he's like, tell me about it. Like, me too. I was like, we need help. We have no idea where, Jesus, help now, help us now,
It was amazing though, wasn't it?
And then we would sit, pray, pray. And then the time comes. And then
the ideas would come.
Everything just comes out of us in this involuntary way. Everyone's having these amazing heart-opening experiences. And we're just observing, wow, Jesus, you really are in charge, because we have no idea what's going on.
It was like, pray, do the session. The session's amazing. Go back and fall apart. Pray, do the session, fall apart. This was the whole thing. And all I'm hearing outside is people laughing, people crying, people letting go. I mean, it was just incredible going around me. And I'm like, wow, Jesus, you've really got it, because I definitely haven't.
It has really, really brought me to that place of, I don't know. I don't know. But in a deep place, almost feeling I'm on my hands and knees and say, I don't know. And I'm holding your hand, Jesus, and you need to help me and you need to show me. I have no idea how to interpret the world that I see. I think I'm seeing all these things, and you're telling me I'm completely wrong about what I'm seeing. So I just need so much help. And from that place, I feel then everything can start. Yeah, from that place, I don't know. I was reading that section not long ago where he explains all about that, and I was like, yes, that's so true, so true. Every time I'm in that place and I ask for help, he always does, in one way or another. Yeah.
I mean, because it's even the practical things. This is what makes me laugh as well. Sometimes you could be so sort of present, but you forget the logistics, and then things are just completely handled. So, for example, we met with a friend, and she said, let's go into the town, and we parked in the car park, and literally as we're walking along, I said to her, do we know how long we've got on the car park? And then with that moment, the person who paid for their ticket in front of us walked to us and said, don't forget, you've got 30 minutes still left on your ticket.
That was amazing. It was this lady. when we parked, she was doing the ticket at the same time, and we had a little chat. And then we saw her again in the town, and she said, "Hey, don't forget you're parking 30 minutes." And we're like, "Oh my God, thank you." We didn't know how long we had left.
I'm just sitting down. We say, "Oh, let's have a coffee here." I sit down. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, my antenna sort of like tunes into these people's conversation, and they say, "Do you know you can get this bus from here, and it's only this and it's only that?" And I go, "Thank you, Jesus." And then there's my bus.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that's probably the most striking thing, is that not only are miracles involuntary, but you can actually keep even going deeper into that experience, where, as Jesus says in the Course, if you'll allow me to perform miracles through you, I will handle time and space. Or he told me at the beginning, and he says in the Course, I will handle everything that does not matter. He's actually talking about all the logistics of time and space, which can be quite complex. He will handle all of that if we just show up with the open heart, with the lead me, Jesus, guide me. And I think that's the thing, maybe that's why I enjoy when I'm out and about and when I do a gathering where there's a lot of mixed, we'll call it mixed audience, because like one time I did a gathering with Francis in Los Angeles, and Miriam, our friend, opened up her residential clubhouse, and the requirement to use the clubhouse is you had to put an invitation at everybody's doorstep in the entire residential community. And she was like, I hope this is okay. I said, that's wonderful. I said, it's California, it's LA, everybody's into spirituality anyway. So, and there was a few people that came that knew of the Course, but most of them didn't. And those are my favorite gatherings, because you're just there with your brothers and sisters, just sharing the love in your heart. They feel it, you feel it. And it's not like there's no prearranged stereotypes of anything. It's just joy, just sharing the joy. And I think, maybe you can talk a little bit about this, but I've felt so honored how Jesus could use travel. Sometimes when we're used to living in the same building all the time, it can almost be a heaviness. Like, you start to get familiar with things. There's a routine or something, and you start to feel more like it's a 9-to-5 job, and you're living in a house or in a building, and then that's just thoughts, but still it doesn't feel good. But when you're traveling, there's so many seeming variables, and there's so many things that you're just kind of enjoying what shows up. Like, look at this. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? You don't even know what you're going to do, or you go visit somebody, you don't know how you're going to get back. And then suddenly a late afternoon, a late night bus is there going back to the place you have to go. And you hop in, and there you go. People, that sounds kind of, it sounds almost like a fairy tale. It always felt to me like I was watching a fairy tale while it was all happening, because there was no rhyme or reason to it. It was just felt like I was carried. But when I would just try to describe a few bits of it, people would go, "Oh, you're talking about it like it's a fairy tale." And well, that's what it feels like. I'm just sharing with you what I'm feeling. And so it's quite amazing, really.
Yeah, like I really felt on this trip how like it has almost felt like Jesus is just like sending us to these houses, always something miraculous happened. Or invited somewhere or whatever. But it almost feels like Jesus just sent me to this house for 1 week or however many days to fully live that life in a way, because we just come into this new world. It almost feels like that, this new whole thing, everything's new again, new kitchen, new everything. And so we enter into this person's world. And then I just feel like I just embrace whatever is there fully. And then, all the love is so beautiful when we had to like say our goodbyes or whatever. And then it's like, okay, my heart is full of love. And then it's like, okay, on to the next one. Again, submerging and just absorbing everything. But I was telling the other day to my friend that I just felt like Jesus has had us like living all this, like many lives, many lives, just to see like what you truly want is forgiveness. And that is the only thing that is actually what you want. It's not in this life or the other. We enjoy whatever shows up in that place, or the connections, the conversations. And then it's like, okay, we hold it, and then it's time to let it go, and jump on to the next. Yeah. It has been so beautiful.
Yeah. You're like living a version of this Turkish show I'm showing, Another Life. You're like, yeah, it sure is another life. and yet it is like episodes. Like when you go to stay with a host, it turns into an episode. And then the next episode can be completely different in the form, but the purpose is the same, to give it over to Jesus, to make me an instrument, let me be used in a purposeful, helpful way. That grows strong in your heart, but the form changes so much. The last time I did, last Saturday, I did an episode. I popped in because Pete was doing the Q&A, and my friend Teresa, who came to the monastery, who's part of a Renovatio, she came on and she said, it's hard for me to formulate with this Turkish series what I really want to ask. But then she just said, how is it going to end? and this kind of experience where you're like lifted and carried, you don't really have that question anymore. You're so present that you're not seeing it as a serial life. In fact, this afternoon here at the monastery, I found a new Star Trek episode in Strange New Worlds, and the whole thing's about time. The captain gets a premonition of like 8 years in the future when he will die. He sees how he'll die. He sees the people that will also die, and it weighs heavy on him. And then the episode I'm going to show in about 3 hours or so is called A Quality of Mercy, where it goes into the whole depth that linear time is the trick. And he wants to change the future, and he wants to save himself and the people. And because he wants things to be different than they are, he wants the script to be different. A giant war starts in the future in which millions of people die because of some of the decisions he has to make. But his higher self shows up to him and says, here's a time crystal. All you have to touch it. And I'm just going to show you some scenes from the future so that you can basically be humble and come back and not go there, not go down those timelines. And I think that's really what you're doing. When you're traveling and you're just being used from one scenario to the next, it starts to become obvious that the healing is in the mind, and it's not interpersonal, which that's the big trick of the world. That's why we need therapists. We believe we need therapists because it's this interpersonal mess, when really it's just a misperception. We're just not seeing the big picture. We're not seeing the whole. But when you give yourself over so fully to just say, use me, Jesus, I don't care, wherever you want to take me, use me however you want, then that brings a huge experience, and tears of love and joy start pouring, and you start to realize, oh my God, this is what I was really praying for. I didn't know the form it would take, but obviously there is one inside me who does know the form.
Yeah, that's why it's important that we have to be transparent with one another, to keep clear in our mind of whatever we're feeling and whatever the fears and the doubt thoughts that come through. So that's been like really, really important. Just being honest, really, like not having to put on a brave face about anything, and know that the cause is in my own mind, and then the outward reflects whatever is going on in my mind. So then it's so it's always revealing itself to you as to what you need to heal. So it's
again and again, remembering
and you can't attach to anything because it's always like moving.
Yeah, you guys are describing and demonstrating the holy relationship, because whenever that topic comes up, people have so many ideas from the past that they try to project onto the relationship, which really doesn't it isn't the holiness. The holiness is this light within that's been covered over, and your transparency is really a demonstration of what the Course calls the holy relationship. It's very different, because then people say, I want a holy relationship. I'm watching and I'm seeing Ken and Anna, and I'm thinking, I want that. I want that. And then we're here sharing, well, all it takes is transparency. If you pray, you stay open, and you're transparent, Jesus will do it for you. You don't even have to figure it out, or you can't plan it. That's for sure. You can't plan it.
Whatever our lessons are, because that's what we're always praying for. Bring up whatever is in my unconscious mind that needs to be healed. I don't have to worry about that. Just bring it up, Jesus. He will bring it up.
And it's not like we plan to come with each other,
No.
or that we were like together. Okay, David, we want to go together. Nothing like that. It was just like you felt it so clear, like you over there. You two are going to Spain, and it's like, whoa, okay, here we go, The unraveling continues, because it's been like such huge healing, apparently between us, which is not really it, but the kind of mirroring that's been going on, it's been like intense, incredible, and very, very challenging at times. And with massive openings of forgiveness too, and just a lot of humbleness over and over again. This is not his problem. If I see it, it's because it's in my mind, and that's where I need to pray for help to see this differently.
That's holy. That is holy. I feel the same feeling like when you used to do those shows together, where you just were praying all day, then you came out and you were sitting there together and your eyes were closed and you were just still carrying the prayer, and then not knowing what you would say or do, and then it came through so gracefully, so deep, so reverent, and everyone feels it. So I think this is kind of a symbol that is very helpful, because a lot of times people feel like they have a role to play in a very sense of personal role, and you both have had so many skills and abilities, and you've been put in so many different situations before these trips over to this trip to Europe and England, and now it's almost like it's just taking you deeper down the rabbit hole. Like you're just saying, okay, I'm going to the light, and I'm surrendered, and I'm going to let the light take me there, instead of like believing I personally have to make the right moves or do the right things. A lot of pressure and stress when we believe that personally we have to solve the riddle or figure our way back to heaven, when really we just have to pray and ask, and then it all is shown.
I'm so grateful, like he truly knows the way to our heart. He just keeps repeating over and over again. He knows, he knows how to reach me. He knows, and if I can be in that place with my heart open, and in that prayer, as you say, like he just shows it in front of us, That's what I want. Take me with you.
Well, thank you for coming on. You were just in Spain for 2 hours. Now you're almost coming to the 3-hour mark, and you already have a woman that you need to connect with. Jesus is giving you the prompt. So we are all graced by your presence to come on and share. And we knew this would happen. We were just waiting for the right internet situation. And wow, I got the prompt, and I didn't even know that you just had landed.
It was funny because I'd only just set up my computer. We literally got to the house. I just set up my computer, And I was like sending out, because then we got another gathering come through. So I'm sending out, and the next minute you call me.
It was perfect timing.
And I was on calls. I'm like, there's just calls coming in everywhere.
Yeah, and we were like alone also. Our friend had to go out, so
Yeah.
we were just like sending in. So
Yeah.
But that is it though, isn't it? Because it's like 10 months of traveling, and people are saying, you've got 10 months of traveling. I said, I don't feel tired at all. And they said, wow, you've really put on some gatherings, haven't you? I said, we haven't done a thing. We haven't even organised a thing. I said, I don't even feel it. I can't take responsibility for any of that. I like, listen, I was nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it's just come to us, isn't it? We haven't tried to do anything, and it's almost like the breadcrumbs. The phone rings. I mean, it's like, Pete, I don't even know where they get my number from. I get ring, hello, no, you don't know me. Okay, then, yeah, can we meet up? Yeah, sure. And I think, where did they come from?
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. Well, you are, this is the day before we start our online monthly retreat. Miracles are involuntary, and you are perfect examples of that, because when I called, Ken answered, Ana was talking in a Spanish call, and I was speaking to him English, and he said, I got a headset. Put the headsets on. We had a little joining, then Ana came over, and then here we are. So the Spirit arranges time and space for us. That's one of the teachings of the Course, that most people are like, how does the Spirit arrange time and space? And how does that fit what the script is written? And it's like, well, one step at a time. While you believe you're human, it's fun to have things arranged. And then you start to get more into the observer, like watching it all and feeling like who you are is not in the world, or not in the characters. You know, it's about like a movie, but you're demonstrating miracles are actually indeed involuntary. Okay, well, beautiful. Carry on, and I'm sure everybody who's watched today just feels their heart bursting open with blessings. So we're so grateful, and I wish you well. And maybe will you be on the weekend retreat, or the?
Yes, we're going to be there.
You'll be there for
we
that.
Are going to be we got a road trip as well on the Saturday, and we're going to get there early. Then we'll be at the movies.
We'll be at the movies. Okay, you're not going to miss those movies. All right. Okay. Many blessings.
Love you, everyone. Thank you so much. Many blessings.
Bye-bye.